Hello, welcome to the April edition of the Leader Games Design Chat. I'm Cole.
I'm Patrick Leader.
And we're trying out a new intro style that we've just ad-libbed, so good work.
Apparently, yay, we didn't do it with puppets.
Yeah, now everyone knows their name. So I hope you all are doing well. It is now spring.
Oh,
It's gorgeous.
It was a long winter.
Yeah, it was a long, snowy winter, but now, it was beautiful, want to run, it's biking weather already. It's actually, almost kind of hot today.
Did it start in October this year? Did it really start in October?
I think...
It was pretty chilly on Halloween.
The last day that we had that was, above 50 was, November 10th.
Wow.
So it was a long one. Although it wasn't as cool as most of the winters that we've had, but it made up for it by being extra snowy.
The roof of my house is slate. And oh no.
Shut up.
Our producer just told us it's snowing this Thursday.
You know what though? I'm gonna lean into it and just say maybe we're gonna hit the record.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, we're only 8 inches off.
So it destroyed our house is an addition, and it destroyed the piece of material under the slate because of how much snow was falling down onto it. So we had to get it replaced. Yeah, it's been a wonderful winter. Yeah, and we were sick all the time. Yeah,
but it's all melting. It's looking beautiful outside. I'm pumped. My children have been playing out in the park a lot and coming back wet instead of snowy because they're just are sliding around in the big puddles, which is fun.
Maybe we should have moved closer to a park like you did.
What we try to do on these design chats is bring you up to speed on what's going on in the studio, and it's been kind of a busy last month. Felt very busy to me, but it's because I had to travel a bunch.
Yeah, but the rhythm's been good for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe it's too much for you. I don't know. I mean, not saying you're just doing more. Not saying you're weak or anything.
No, it's been busy. I very much. My wife told me that it felt she was getting 2017 flashbacks because it just felt like there was always work, and we were doing the thing. This is I don't know that I had wanted this, but I got to the point where I was in bed last night with a bunch of books for a project I'm working on, strewn around, and then I fell asleep and woke up and had just all my work around me, and I was like, oh, this is what happens in grown-up movies. People are working too much, and it finally hit. But yeah, things have been good. I had the good pleasure of visiting wow, this is insane. The university has a crazy name, so I can't remember its precise name, but I went to Swanee, Tennessee. I think it's called the University of the South, Swanee, or Swanee, University of the South. I'm not sure even they know what they want their name to be. But I had a lovely time. Met a lot of folks who I had done testing with and got to play some games, and then went to GDC, which was also good and very interesting, gave me a lot to think about, but also made me tired.
And you got to meet Brian Bucklew.
I did get to hang out with Brian.
Yeah.
The CUD people.
The CUD people, the kids of CUD people. I'm just fascinated by them because CUD is fascinating.
No, and in the wonderful way that whenever you meet someone who works on a project that you really like, you're like, oh, the project makes sense and you make sense.
Right.
These things are extensions of each other.
You didn't build a house that made the game. You were the house.
Exactly.
You're a product of it. Or the game's product of it.
Well, it's also just fun. I mean, I think video games are a weird analog to board games because a lot of the work is very similar. But one of the biggest differences is that the teams are smaller. So I often tell people that working in board games now seems like it's a little similar to what working in video games might have been like in the late 80s and early 90s, where you have 5-person teams who are going to work for a year or two to build something. And that is just so different from what the video game industry is like now.
Yeah.
If you want to see my talk, so I gave a chat about using historical settings in game design. It will be on the GDC Vault at some point, and then over a mysterious process, it will eventually make its way to YouTube. I don't get to control where it goes, unfortunately. It's up to the GDC gatekeepers. and routinely it's like easy to watch things on the Vault. Like they will do something where I think most of the Vault talks you can't see as a public unless you have the expensive pass, but they will release talks. So
is there a king-making one on there?
there is. Yeah.
Oh. Or I'm on YouTube.
Yeah, so the YouTube one made it. They eventually, there are just so many talks. Not all of them make it all the way to YouTube. It needs to be like general interest. And so I'm hoping mine is general enough, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Cool. So that was the travel. And then in the studio, we've just been working.
Yeah. So we now have 3 new game space. The company made the tables. Game table.
Yeah, board game tables.
Board game tables.
Now called All Play.
This is a great endorsement of your product. We have 3 other tables, and we have another one we haven't built yet. I think it's going to be here someday.
It'll be here.
Yeah,
we haven't built it only because I said I'd build it, and then I got real busy.
Well, you're busy. Yeah.
And
But you have interns coming.
Yeah, it's true.
And they're all full. All 3 of those tables now have a project on them that is underway, and we haven't signed off on one, but yeah, they're all going, and it's pretty terrific to be able to walk in and see that every day. It's very inspiring for me just to like slowly walk by them and look at how each one's doing, and I'm on one of them, and it inspires me. So
a couple of weeks ago, I was in on a Wednesday, and there was a game of Oath going on with some potential expansion content that I was not a part of at all. Like I didn't know what was being tested. I didn't help schedule the play test. And it was great just to see that like, yeah, people know that they're empowered to kind of, push along the projects, and we'll start formalizing stuff going forward. But generally it's like everyone's working.
It's a studio. Yeah. So let's talk about what you've been playing, Cole. I feel like I'm interviewing right now.
Oh, what have I been playing?
Well, it's slow for me too, right? Because there's not much time.
It's like well, and also I was sick a bunch. I played. I've played a bunch of the new edition of Raw, which is good. They did a good job. The Peter O'Toole. No, that's an actor. Ian O'Toole. Ian O'Toole's graphic design is great. It usually is. I think it's especially well suited to Raw. The production is. I got the wooden tile one, which is ridiculous because the wooden tiles are huge, and it actually I think is a really lovely production that makes only a few small missteps. The biggest misstep, which I haven't even gone to Twitter, is I used to have, as Patrick, like a whole bit about Square rulebooks and disliking people who didn't write rulebooks as if they were documents to be written. I think I'm moving on my rant to be now mostly upset at linen finish rulebooks and over aggressive use of linen finish. I think it is horrible. It's crazy to me that this production of Raw is gorgeous. It's so well considered. And then you get to the rulebook, which is only 4 pages long, but it has this goofy, very aggressive linen finish that makes it hard to read in anything but like extremely neutral lighting. And it bums me out because I'm like, well, a weird thing is happening because you are taking a gloss paper or whatever, you're putting some digital linen texture on it, and then you're rolling it with linen. Like you could have just designed a flatter rulebook design in terms of the graphics, and then printed it on a nice paper with a good feel. If you want like a little roughness in the paper, that's fine. But it bummed me out because the rest of the production is great. So played a lot of Raw. Been playing some Hero Quest with the family, which has been fun.
Yay!
More StarCraft, and then we were talking about Immortality a few weeks ago, and Katie and I played through it, and it was great.
Yeah, that's what he said. Brandy and I would like.
Yes, okay. Yeah, it's the interactive David Lynch movie. It won a bunch of awards this year. So.
Oh yeah, that one. Okay.
It's very good.
I'll get on it. So my rant isn't against Square rulebooks. My rant is against anything that's larger than 8.5 by 11. So because Square rulebooks are usually 11 by 11, right? Then that's what hits me. Yeah. But a Square rulebook this big, I'm annoyed by. But Well, you just want. It's like any rule with a board game component is like, was it held in someone's hands? Yeah. It's like the same thing. I run into this problem with games that are like made too small. Yeah. Where like the pieces are just too small. Where I'm like, there are variants in human hand sizes, but like, you shouldn't be designing your game for a doll to play. Yeah. I don't know. Well, I know what I'm having a nightmare about tonight. Thank you very much. So I've been playing Vampire Survivors. Feel pretty hard into that. And then a couple of boomer shooters. Everyone keeps sending me there's going to be a 40K one coming up. And Bolt Gun. Yeah. Yes, I'm excited about that.
It's a game straight off the pages of like a 90s Game Informer, right? Like you can imagine the 2-page spread that's like a woman with her hair back and like a Coke being splattered across. Just has the name of the screen. Has the name of the game like in small letters in the bottom corner or something.
Yeah.
It just has it strikes a mood. That game.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited. And then there's did I talk about Metroidvania Chasm last time?
Mm-mm.
So I've been playing that. It's like a procedurally generated map with set pieces that it drops in because it has to build the puzzles correctly. And then I played through Evolution probably in the last year. That's the Doom mod that SB is talking about on the screen there. I've been playing some Deep Rock with my friends and Division. That's been my Tuesday night game. So Chasm, it builds this map from like these set pieces, and then it's just a Metroidvania with like a really steep learning curve. Every new zone you get to, everything just murders you until you figure out how to it's gearing up, and then also how you figure out how to deal with each mob as you approach them. So
nice.
So a lot of rebooting, and then Terra Nil just came out.
Yeah, it's in early access.
No, the release was at the end of March, and kind of weird. It is it's like hard. It has an economy that's hard if you set the difficulty up. You have so many leaves. That's the currency is these leaves. So the basis of Terra Nil is that you've come back to the Earth after it's been destroyed by pollution, and you're terraforming it basically back into an Earth-like state. And so the first part of the game is just cleaning it, remediating damaged soil, and then it's spreading nature across the map. And then it's like getting plants and animals to take off, like biomes to take off again, and then animals to take off in those biomes. Because as the game says, the animals will do a better job at managing the ecology when you're gone, and then you will. And then the really cool stuff that whatever tools you put down on the map to terraform, like there's all these machines you can drop down from the sky. Presumably you're in orbit dropping these machines onto the planet. You have to clean everything up before you leave. There cannot be anything man-made left on the map when you fly off. And so this giant ship comes down, and you have to figure out how to get all the pieces back to the ship and then take off again within your budget. So your budget's always decaying. There's really only one way to get leaves back, and that's when you're actually putting nature down. And then sometimes you have to destroy things. There's a biome called ash forest, which isn't an ash tree, but based on the forest has to burn down and the new forest grows out of it. And so like you're like, I just built all that, and then you have to light it on fire. It's like, and then you have to be careful. And then you're like, if you plan ahead, you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna burn here, and it's gonna be stopped by these two rivers. But if you don't plan ahead, then your whole map gets consumed by fire, and you're like, whoopsie doopsie. And so then you gotta rebuild some things. It's hard. There's only 4 maps, which I think some people are disappointed by. I'll admit I was a little bit like, nah. The last one or the third one you have to build maybe it's the 4th one. You have to build tundra. You're in a volcanic area, and tundra has to be high, so it's dry. And so like learning how to plan ahead for shaping the earth and the cost of shaping the earth is very challenging for me. So I haven't gotten through that yet. So I've been playing that D&D. And
heard of it.
More D&D. We switched from 5e to 13th age because I was like, I'm done.
You want to go back home?
I'm done with 5th edition. And sure enough, the session was just so much better. So much
interesting.
Yeah, so much better, so much easier to plan, and the players were really getting much more into the fights. Board games. I've been playing a Little Wordy with my child. We did play some Hero Quest. Dominion. I'm have a game of Oath tonight.
Good luck.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It is hard. And then Final Girl hit the table a couple times.
Nice.
Yeah, the new edition. It took me like 6 hours to pack the new box set. So, and it was partially because of kids, but partially because
it's a
It's a
project.
big thing.
Yeah, I got my Western Legends big box in the mail, which I'm not crazy about Western Legends. I think it's pretty good, but I am in this. I think this is the only game this has ever happened to me where I feel like I've been a little strung along, where I'm like, yeah, I'll get the next content.
Yeah.
And I think it's the first game where I've ever gotten the second expansion without having played the first expansion.
Sure.
But then they came out with the big box, and I was like, well, I kind of want to see how they do a big box because I have an academic interest in big boxes for some reason. And I got it, and it's a wild thing because it's a big box. It's lovely, but inside the big box is a giant brick of MDF, like laser cut or like it's wood maybe, and you have to assemble it. And I looked at it and was like, well, I don't know when this is going to happen really. And so it's just sitting on the floor of my office. It'll wait there.
At home?
Yeah, at home. It'll just wait there until I have time to assemble it. I don't know.
So the final girl box, if I can talk about
it,
is this like, there's 2 boxes, one for each season. The first one holds the core set also, so it's a bunch, it's a bunch of those little boxes you put together. And that was the great part about Final Girl for me, was that I could grab the core box and one of the sided boxes and just go. And like last time we went on vacation, by weird coincidence, I brought the summer camp one and Poltergeist on, and it was around Halloween, and we watched Poltergeist and Friday the 13th in our hotel room, and so I just went and played them right after.
Oh, nice.
But the new box now, it's this big box, and there's no slots, but there's a picture of the art opposite of what the box you put in, and then that guarantees that you have all the spacing right. And then there's a box along the top that looks like a VCR, so it looks like it's your VCR with a little videotape collection there. And in that box, then you can put the mats and stuff like that, the things that roll up. So yeah, it's pretty nice. It's just because of the way that they said, well, now put all the final girls in this box and put all these pieces in this box, you have to have that box there to set it up. And so it kind of, and of course I could
the game
unassemble
it. Got a little less mobile.
You got a little less mobile if you're storing it the way that the intended.
Well, this is, the thing that we looked at the Too Many Bones box that someone brought in. A staff member had it. Significant other to a staff member had it. And it's ridiculous because it's so heavy. Yeah. And the first thing that I thought when I picked up the box was like, oh, this is a box that's not designed to be moved.
Right.
It's designed to sit on a shelf. So it's really just like, it's a shelf.
And you can even slide it out a little bit.
Yeah,
open
it has
pull the drawers up.
It is it's a shelf, which I think if the terms of your big box conversation are let's design the best box to let's design the best shelf, super different conversation.
Yeah.
Right. You can get away with all kinds of things if you're just building a piece of furniture. Okay, so let's talk about some studio stuff. There's a question about the Oath expansion. I'll give a very short answer about the Oath expansion, which is only now, like literally this morning, did I start putting together the quote that we'll send to the factory. So I hate to string people along. It'll be like one more month before we really get into the weeds about the Oath expansion. The biggest thing is that there's been some progress and we are starting to make it work. Right now, I'm just so deep in ARCs, it just hasn't been, the Oath expansion hasn't been rising up to the priority, and then I got sick and had kind of a rocky month there, and so it got delayed a few weeks. But soon.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, we have a cool idea, we need to make sure it's financially viable. I mean, that's one of the funny things, when we talk about accepting new projects, the most scrutiny we give to like external designs or designs that are not really like anything we've done. And then, we give a little bit less scrutiny to a game that like feels like it's a natural Leader Games game for whatever reason. Yeah. And then the lowest amount of scrutiny we give to expansions.
Right.
Because we're like, well, we know people want us to make more of this, is the core game in whole. We're still giving it scrutiny, but we give them a lot of economic scrutiny. We give them a lot of like business plan scrutiny.
Right.
Because we don't want to make something that we instantly regret publishing.
That's never happened.
Yeah. Someone asked if we're looking for local to Twin Cities playtesters. Soon-ish.
Yeah.
It's like we've been wanting to start up playtesting, but we haven't had the bandwidth to run it effectively, and so it might get folded into the summer internship stuff, and then build from there.
Go from there. So
cool.
I think one of us just needs to get in the habit of staying at late on Wednesday.
Yeah, they're just like, currently
it.
I'm running into the problem where there's like not enough hours for me to get, because in order, like I'll have to maintain in the context of ARCs, there just isn't enough time for me to build a kit and then also manage it for a weekly test. I think we're starting to get to the point where that will become possible, and we'll start getting local tests at the studio, but not quite yet.
Path is nowhere near needing external testing beyond.
Yeah, maybe by this, maybe by midsummer though. Maybe.
Yeah, beyond me just saying, "Hey, you three, want to play this game?"
Yep. There you go. Okay, so ARCs, I can give a small ARCs update. So ARCs, there are a bunch of things happening kind of at the same time. So we released the new version of ARCs in the 2-player mode. It's been really fun seeing people play the 2-player game, explore all the stuff that we've stuck in there. That has initiated essentially the final dev pass, which has been really fun. Like going through, Josh and I kind of took a really close look at the rules with Nick too, and we identified just a couple areas where we felt like the rules could hit a little better. So like Josh did a cut on the dice in the combat, which doesn't really change anything. It adjusts some of the dice faces. It doesn't really mess with the numbers that much, but it cuts a step and makes it a lot simpler to resolve. Sure. And so, these are very late stage changes because they're not really messing with the core game logic that much. They're just cleaning things up. We've also been working on the setup, figuring out how the board should look, doing all that kind of core work. And then in the campaign world, there have been 2 efforts. So one of them is we are figuring out exactly how the game should be stored. This is a big and complex question.
Shelf.
Yeah, we're just going to build a big ARC shelf. So we're running into some kind of interesting problems, which I haven't really talked about, but I don't mind kind of talking about them in the abstract, with the caveat that everything I'm about to say, this is all very much in flux. So we have a number of different strategies for the ARCs box. What we did was we designed a version of the box that was like the nicest, coolest big box solution that we could ever imagine for ARCs. Mm-hmm. With like really cool little like tuck boxes and lots of little neat features. And we quoted it, and the factory was like, "You madmen, this is crazy expensive. What are you thinking?" Uh-huh. Which again, good to know. But we just kind of wanted to see. And then critically, and this was something that we never really did with Root or certainly with Oath. Oath for reasons that are obvious, I hope. But we sort of step back and say like, okay, well, if we know what the perfect ARCs box might be, is there a way that we can build the components in the current box design in a way that will make it an easy upgrade? So we're actually kind of trying to avoid the Final Girl problem a little bit. Sure. Right? Because Final Girl to me was like designed with a particular box strategy, and then they were like, we want to switch horses midstream. Yeah. And then so it like.
So you get what you get. Yeah.
You get a weird VCR. Yeah. So like I think one thing that we're stewing on. So I'll frame this in a couple ways. So the campaign content, for instance, the campaign content could fit largely in a like long Arkham campaign box if we just like packed it pretty densely. Yeah. And you would be able to sort it, and of course it fits sleeves, but it could like largely fit in there. And then the core ARCs game could probably fit in like a root box, maybe a little deeper, but like roughly a root box. Right. But if we made the core ARCs box Oath-sized, maybe a little deeper, it would be largely empty for people in the short term. Right. But if in the future we built like a custom storage solution, we could have everything fit in the bigger box. Sure. Or do we just say, let's just make that one separate product like the Scythe Legendary box, and we'll do that at some point in the future when we have bandwidth. Right. So we have some interesting product solutions that we're sorting through. The thing that I'll tell everybody on chat is we're going to make sure that the box that we ship the game with works really well at its job. Like that will be obviously like that is such a large priority. In fact, one of the things I'm working on this week is building a physical campaign kit, just so I can get in the practice of like physically packing up the game, taking it out, all that stuff. But we do recognize that like there's probably a really deluxe, very fancy solution that we can design in a way that can allow people to upgrade to it eventually when we have a chance to actually fully build it out. But we probably won't build it as part of the Kickstarter. So we're sorting through that right now. It's just a really tricky question, and it's one of those questions that you have, maybe like 12 or 20 different assets that are like types, and then when you make a change of one of those assets, it scrambles everything with respect to like the box and some of the UI design. So we're constantly having to like redo our own work. So that's the boring stuff we're working on. It's fun, but it's also kind of boring, like doing a puzzle. And then the other thing that's happening in ArcsLand is we're doing a ton of work on the intermission, which I talked about a little bit last month, and just on the general fate design. The biggest takeaway here from the last chat is we've been working a lot on figuring out how to make players feel like they're taking a particular role when they're playing the game. So one of the problems with Arcs is that the core system is robust enough that the plot lines in the campaign will sometimes feel like side quests when they shouldn't feel like side quests. They should feel like the main quest. And the way we've kind of gotten around this is by reframing things slightly. So there are basically two groups of changes. So one of them is when we were first working on the plot lines, we frame them to players in terms of cool things that they would get. So you could say like, okay, do you want to be the priest or do you want to be the knight? And if you're the priest, you're going to get a healing spell and a staff. If you're the knight, you're going to get a helmet and you're going to get a sword. And what happens when you do that is players start min-maxing. Even if they don't want to, they start saying, well, what's the DPS of the staff?
Right.
If I'm healing, can I also do this? And they start getting very into figuring out what the optimal build is. And so we've been recasting that question and basically saying, your choice of plot line is your promise to the table. It's your gambit. So you say like, okay, do you want to select the priest? Your responsibility is to heal a lot of players. Right. Or do you want to select the knight? Your responsibility is to smash a bunch of goblins. And by framing it in terms of the responsibility, players will they like stop thinking about the weird min-maxy and instead think about the style of play that they want to play.
Right.
And that has been helping ground a lot of those intermission decisions.
I just imagining one of those guides where it's like, like use the colors to say like this is S tier, this is A tier, and then it'll be like the Arcs plotline S tiers.
No, this is a big realization is realizing that one could make little tier charts. So the other thing that we've done is we've put a lot of attention in the intermission phase and trying to get the intermission phase to feel like it's got a good narrative hit to it. And this has been interesting too. So originally we had the system where you had to make these sacrifices. That's what I talked about last month. That had been a pretty workable system for about 2 months. And the idea was you have to make a number of sacrifices and then you choose from a little menu of different types of sacrifices.
Yeah.
What I didn't like about that is narratively, when a character is forced to make a sacrifice, they don't determine the terms of the sacrifice. Because like that, when you do your taxes, you determine the terms of your sacrifices. And so what it did is it created this weird situation where it's like, I'm going to go ahead and have like an extra kid in Act 3 because I know I can write him off in Act 4.
Right.
And so it was creating this like very weird, very anti-narrative play that the players were engaging in. And so we replaced it with this system called the Fateful Choices, where you have to make a number of fateful choices. And the way it works is there's a little deck of cards. You flip 2 cards and it will say like, hey, do you want to burn your fleets or do you want to lose half of your tech?
Yeah.
And you have to pick one.
Right.
And then when you pick one, if you have to make a multiple fateful choices, that card gets cleared. And now it's like, well, now you can choose to burn your fleets or some other horrible thing. And some of the fateful choices impact your board position. Others will give you traits. So for example, you could have to burn your fleets, or do you want to become timid? If you become timid, you can't lead mobilization cards for the rest of the campaign. So you take these like kind of scars.
Yeah.
And it creates really interesting, narratively resonant positions where like, not only are you like the librarian who became the pirate, you're like the librarian who forsake their fleet to become like a bit of a coward, and now they're just raiding. So like it's giving a little bit more narrative.
But you're a cool pirate.
But you're now a dope pirate.
Yeah.
So and that's just a general comment where ARCS is. A bunch of questions I'm just going to quickly catch up on. We'll touch on the internship one in just a second. So someone asks about, do you imagine ARCS is a game that could receive new campaign expansions? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The whole part of the reason why ARCS has taken a long time to work on is that it's the first game I've ever worked on that was designed to be expanded. It has a very flexible core system, and one of the goals of the expansion, and I just had a meeting about this morning, is that the expansions are not modular, they're not toggles.
Right.
So it's very important to me that an expansion will never deprecate any content in ARCS.
Sure.
So I don't want like, oh, you want to play with this expansion? That means you got to put away this one.
Right.
I hate when expansions do that because it means that they pull themselves kind of like out of, they just pull themselves out of circulation. I think that a lot of the Fantasy Flight expansions have this problem where you can't play with everything in the expansion.
You shouldn't play with New Caprica.
Right.
If, I don't know what the later pieces is, but yeah, look, that falls out pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I would just rather players sit down to play ARCS, and when they get, the dream for a campaign expansion for ARCS is you get enough content in the campaign expansion that players could just sit down and play it.
Yeah.
And then they could also take those plotline seeds and shuffle them in with the ones they already have,
right,
and have them all kind of working. But that's going to be a way down there. Do you think ARCS will be able to host a competitive scene like Root? As a player, I think ARCS is a more interesting competitive game than Root. I think it's a harder game. It's less. It has there is more chance in it, but I think it's also more dynamic. So competitive games have a weird relationship with chance.
Right.
And ARCS is a chancier game than Root.
Right.
But I think it's a lot more fun to watch. And I find it more interesting to play just in terms of if I had to pick one game to play competitively 1,000 times, easily ARCS. I mean, so much more interesting.
It'd mess up the sets, but it'd be neat if you were like in a round robin tournament and then you're just like, whoop.
Yep.
I know pirates over here.
Yeah, so I would really like that. And I think, one reason why we wanted to make sure the short game and the base game worked so well is so it could adapt to a tournament scene. Okay, and then the internship question, I guess we can talk about very briefly before we move to
not yet. We should hear back. We're reading resumes right now, and we've done a few like screening interviews, but nothing too serious.
Yeah, if you haven't heard back yet, don't be concerned, because we've only gone through half of the apps, and I think our hope is to have reached out to the rest of the preliminary candidates by the end of the week.
Yeah.
And then I'm hoping by the end of next week that we have it all sewed up. But we'll see. So soon.
But bear in mind, it's 1, maybe 2 positions.
Yeah.
And we have 100 applicants. 100
plus.
Yeah.
100 plus, yeah.
Yeah. So just keep that realistic.
Yeah, we had the initial weed out, like we do kind of like a eligibility weed out where it's like, I'm sorry if you're in Denmark, like we can't really make this position work.
I love you, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just too like international applicants are tough.
Yeah.
But I think after that we still had 100.
Yeah.
So it was a good number. Do we have a short list for fun 4-letter words that you're saving for future game names?
No, because they're all going to be taken by the time I get to making a game.
Yeah, and then we'll just make a game.
Yeah, we might have to break the 4-letter thing someday. Sorry, everybody.
It's just, I didn't think it was going to become everyone's shtick.
Yeah. A lot of people are doing it now.
Yeah, it's the weirdest. Like, I don't know.
It's made me angry a few times. So.
Well, I think it's funny because I feel like people think it's like a Galaxy Brain marketing secret, and I'm like, the games don't do well because they have 4 letters, my guy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. The games are good. That's what makes them.
I encourage anyone interested in testing this theory to compare the 2 games with the name Ahoy in the BGG database.
Cool. Well, should we talk about Path a little bit, or?
Yeah, let's talk about Path.
Okay, hold on one second. Yeah. You can't say that it doesn't. All right. So we had we've gone through like 3 big iterations lately. We did the Magic. She didn't play. I'm not like you didn't play that one, Cole, but it was just.
I was literally at GDC that week.
You were literally. It's 2 weeks to make, 1 week to disprove. So we were making a version of Path where everyone was wizards, and you were trying to cast a spell that would kind of like make you the rule of the world or whatever you wanted, whatever your heart's desire was. That was narrative. It didn't matter. And game. That could be like our 504.
Yeah, just
game. Yeah, it's a game. And so we went through that, and then that version of Path didn't have. I think the important part of it was, besides the fact that everyone's wizards and you're casting spells, is that the removed the score system. So you were basically building an engine to cast the final spell, and that was not great. It needed some work, but it was an interesting concept. But it just didn't bear out for a couple of reasons. So then I made this kind of web of. I went back to kind of a point system, so you could focus on just doing jobs, which in the game's parlance is like just doing things for the people around you, like just simple missions. Go here, fight this guy, whatever. Whatever the smallest atomic beat of the game was, those were the jobs. And you're getting points for doing those, and then you're getting points for doing missions, which you had to buy by doing one of the currencies you get from jobs is influence. You'd use the influence to buy missions, and then the missions would give you points faster. And then eventually you would get to be doing, at the beginning of the game, you'd get a card that was called a path card, and that would have a secret like thing you were trying to get to, like a state you were trying to get to, and then you could reveal it and score a lot of points for it. Or we tried it that way, you scored a lot of points for path, so it was job, mission, path. And then some path cards really wanted you to focus on jobs, and some wanted you to focus on missions, just by the nature of the way that they accumulated rewards for you. And that was okay. Going back to that system, had points in it, but it didn't really focus it was like a serious movie. You would start it, and then you'd play for a bit, and then you'd have enough points to win, and you'd win, and your character hadn't grown. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like they were still kind of where they were, and so Cole and I sat down and really hammered out like kind of a 3-act structure for it, and with the character like kind of being afraid of the world, the apprentice, and then moving through the different states of being until they get to the end. And so now it's pointless. It has no points again, and the victory system is based on completing 3 path cards. And so you start out with nothing in this world. You're a little bit better than everyone else as a fighter, I guess. And then there's a public pool of missions. And as you complete missions, you add path cards to your tableau. And then you're looking to complete the path cards. And the path cards build on each other. So they're just an extension of the missions. So they're like harder versions of the missions. And they build on each other. So if you have a path card that is a bounty, and you are trying to complete a second bounty, then that second bounty is harder, because presumably because you've done the first bounty, you're better at doing bounties. And then when you get to the end of 3 path cards, you win the game. And then as you complete the path cards, you also gain a reward that is some sort of narrative concept, like you have an army, you are married into the royal family, you have you're the king of bandits now, or whatever that may be. But you've also gained some sort of penalty. Right. You have trouble working magic now. You lose some of your power. So there's you have to return to town between every mission. Things like that. So that's been a fun redesign. I think the challenge for me right now is that the kind of the 6-fold system they came from was based on this idea that you, like, for instance, to win the friendship path ending, you would have to have so many retainers in your party. And so that was a thing that you could look at every system in the game and go, is this going to help me get me friends? And those all kind of work towards. So the path cards were a description of a state you had to get to get the points. And now the path cards are a thing you have to do to get that one point for having a path card. And so I'm like, That's literally what I'm working on today, is like making sure all the pieces reinsert into that system well. And if is that worth it? Yeah. Is that something I want out of the system? Because I kind of do miss the flexibility of saying, go get 8 hirelings. Up to you, how you do it. But I don't think, to your point last week, I don't think it gave enough structure to the story to say it that way.
Yeah, because you don't want people like to view. I mean, this is something that we run into a lot with the types of games we work on, where like if you have water as a resource in the game, it needs to like flow.
Yeah.
And so you need like a kind of core utility that has to be strong enough, because otherwise players will just start viewing it like different colors of tickets.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got to go get 3 hireling tickets.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And the hirelings help you in a certain way.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so and so the design problems I'm having right now is that the one of the economies in the game is influence, and influence is it's either 0, 1, or 2. If it's 0, if you have 0 influence of the faction, you're fighting them. If you're 1 with them, they leave you alone. And if they're at 2, they won't help you, but you can put their pieces onto the board to try and block the other players. And my concern is that they all feel the same right now, because they aren't strongly typed to any of the missions or the paths.
Sure.
So I don't know if we need that, but I feel like they should be requesting certain things, or that there should be some sort of repeatable thing you can do with them that feels in character for them.
Sure.
So I don't know if that's important yet. I think I might get the prototype done and then go, yeah, we need this.
Well, and it's a funny spot, because like if you want, for instance, to have different colors of magic, it's like, well, what happens when you like give magic affinities?
Yeah.
To the different,
to a group.
Right.
Yeah. So then what happens then? Yeah, I kind of took out magic. Magic is in there. It's just all mana now.
It's all mana. So in the end, it's all mana.
It's all mana. So those are the 2 problems. Is I'm trying to figure out, is there a system that I can make that the player is interacting with their path and personality, but if you get deep into a faction, hating or liking them, is there something you can do to maybe score one of your path cards without like, so it's like, so there's two like circles of responsibility that are intersecting your personal self versus what this group wants. That's still being a selfish goal, but.
And there's a lot of this stuff is pushing off a conversation, not a conversation, but the next effort, which is going to be getting the action system to harmonize with, how
with every piece.
With all the pieces.
And so then that is the last iteration produced a kind of a hand management system for determining your actions, and that everything has to be, that was kind of just bolted on and it worked, but now the job is to make sure everything fits in that system. So it's been pretty exciting work. I've been really enjoying working on this part. I was a little bit like, until the question presented itself, until I realized that the problem I was having with that design is, again, is it 8 hirelings? Is it 5 combat strength? Or is it having enough combat strength to beat this thing? Or the same question, but
they're just framed a little different.
They're framed thematically. They're framed a little bit differently, and so I'm working through that right now. I think the problem is there was 6 here and there's 4 here, so I'm having to drop some material. So, ta-da!
Yeah. No, and I think hopefully we can. I'm excited to play it.
Yeah.
Pretty soon.
Yeah. I'm hoping to have this done by the end of the week, but there's been a lot going on this week, so
it's busy. I mean, we got to get these. We got to get these interns. We got to get the interns selected. All rolling.
Yeah. Oh boy, a lot of oath and path discussion there.
Well, yeah, watch out. Gee whiz. So someone asked about the Path Kickstarter for this year. I mean, that's sort of our plan. We don't know what the time window is going to be.
Yeah.
But it's kind of got the next slot.
I like to think that I'll be done Monday. And
sure.
then we'll just go straight through night.
Yeah, I'd love that.
We have the next slot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has. I was telling Patrick that we're getting, we're starting to get into the funny time, which is when it's been about a year since a crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah.
Where we're all busy, we're all working on stuff, but it does give you this like little feeling where it's like, well, we kind of gotta get something up on the crowdfunding pretty soon.
Well, I'm jealous of other people. I look at other companies putting up Kickstarters and getting numbers, and I'm like, oh, I kind of want that high right now. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a good. Well, I mean, running a Kickstarter is just. I mean, it's like running a party. It's a great feeling.
It's a great feeling. Yeah.
It's just Arcs. It's been so big. I'm so happy with it. Like I always feel bad when I talk about it because I sound exasperated, and I am genuinely very delighted with it. But it's a big old plane.
Yeah.
Land in a big old plane.
Oh, in the ocean, as you said.
Yeah, in the ocean. It's a plane, but it's a wooden plane. We're landing in the ocean. But it's the type of plane that's supposed to be landing in the ocean.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam. More root plushes, I think.
We've got, who haven't we done? We haven't done
the bird yet. Yeah.
Because it's got feathers. Who knows?
Who knows how we're going to do
We're
that?
avoiding.
I don't, yeah, they're not like super big sellers, so I don't know if we'll keep doing them. But
I think like the next root Kickstarter, we'll probably see the bird plushie. Because then we'll be able to upgrade
our home set. We'll be able to play with plushies. Yeah. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. So. I wondered if, because we have a lot of these, I wonder if we should make them like trophies for tournaments or something.
Yeah, give them away somehow.
Give bolt a little plaque on.
We need to not just throw them away though, because my spouse who did the painting of all of them will be upset if we just throw them away.
No, we absolutely cannot throw them away.
So cool.
There you go. All right. Well, let's see if there are any other questions.
Any other questions? We got about 10 minutes.
Look at us getting through all the necessary things on time.
On time. Marauder shirt. Yeah, we'll do a Marauder. I think we have the design we have right now. We'll eventually be released to the public, right? Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know what the precise shirt.
Yeah.
I'm not on shirt team.
I'm not on team shirt.
How do you like your steak?
Medium rare.
Medium rare. I don't know. I don't know if I have a preference. I don't eat a lot of steaks.
Yeah. He likes pork.
I do like pork.
Marauder shirt. Erie is my favorite faction. What are your goals behind the design of Path? Let me write about that. I think that'll be hard for me to articulate right now. My goal right now is to write a lovely love letter to Magic Realm.
Sure.
Is to make, because what I wanted when I started out was I wanted the joy I imagined Magic Realm would give me to be real.
Well, this is like the funny thing about Magic Realm, which is I admire the hell out of Magic Realm. I've played it, I don't know, probably 4 times. And I think that I like thinking about Magic Realm much more than I like playing it.
Yes.
And so
exactly.
It's always a funny, like I feel this way a little bit about train games like Cube Rails, where they're by people who like love 18xx games, but don't want to play 18xx games. And maybe they haven't even in a while.
Yeah.
And then it emerges kind of out of that.
That desire.
Yeah, the desire, where it's like you're trying to capture. I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot because it's a question about adaptation, where a lot of times people go into an adaptation trying to capture the specifics as opposed to capturing the feeling, and it creates these like wonky bad games.
That is a great way to think about it.
You gotta be after the feeling.
I like maybe next we need to work on Titan.
Yeah.
Like
although Titan has a problem being too good.
It is so good.
It is.
I'll shut up. I'll be good. So I want the feeling that I thought Magic Realm would give me, and then as a kid I started playing it and went, this is 40 pages of tiny rules.
Oh yeah. So
too early for Ahoy.
Too early for Ahoy, but like watch this space.
Cole. This keeps popping up about the root expansion.
Well, at one point I said that I really wanted to take lead on it and like do a bunch of expansions and a bunch of factions in a box. Which is true, but there are a lot of things I would like to do. I don't like, so it is true, but it's like not on the schedule. Here's what my schedule looks like. I'm gonna finish Arcs. It's gonna take at least a few more months of heavy work on my end.
Yeah.
As soon as that's done, I'm working on the Oath expansion, basically just like jumping from one horse to another. The Oath expansion, I don't know how long it'll take. As soon as that gets done, then I will make a call. Basically, at that point, the root train will have already left the station, or will have not yet left the station. It's already left the station. That's fine. I'll wait till it comes around the next day.
Right.
And if it hasn't, maybe I'll get in the mix.
I think for me, what I'd like to see is that we all bring more than a pitch.
Maybe.
Here is a faction, and then let you kind of.
Maybe. I mean, I just haven't. Root is weird. I mean, part of this is me being selfish because I think most of the root expansions are very communal.
Yeah.
And I think obviously people love the Marauder expansion, so it speaks highly of the method.
Right.
But to me, I would love to work.
Whole cloth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because I think that it gives you different tools. That's actually been a really nice part of working on ARCs, where I've been very jealous about ARCs and not letting people in. Now, we've gotten now far enough in the product where I've been like, Josh, save me. I've painted myself into a corner. And he's come in and helped a lot. But it's actually been very nice to like have clarity in that project and be like, no, actually, it's going to look like X.
Yeah.
And that's just very different from how we sometimes do our projects.
Right.
It just varies.
Well, there's 4 factions for $100. I'll go make this right now.
Yeah, easy. $100.
Hi, Pizza Maple. Friend of the studio.
Friend of the studio. Friend of Hudson, Wisconsin.
Friend of Hudson, Wisconsin.
Okay, well, should we call it there? Perhaps?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us. We will have some fun stuff to talk about next month as some of our projects get a little further underway. If you are waiting on learning about the internship, know that we will probably be contacting you within 2 to 3 weeks, I will say.
Yeah.
I think the earliest you're going to hear back is at the end of next week, probably the week after or so.
Yeah.
Those internships are going to be starting basically as soon as we can get them rolling.
Yeah.
And then, that's it. And then I had promised that we would be doing potentially some live streams of ARCS content. My current plan is to potentially do a 2-player campaign within a couple weeks. I'm just waiting about some higher priority stuff that needs to be done soon, but that is still very much in the works, and I would like to do it.
Sure. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be fun to do. See, and then I keep promising design notes for. Someday
maybe today's the day.
Maybe someday I'll write a diary. It is interesting because every time I like sit and stew on something for a few hours, and then I finally pull one of you into conversation. I'm like explaining it, and then my brain leaks, and the correct idea is there. So yes, but maybe you need the stewing to get that to work.
Yeah,
So.
a little stew. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a lovely April.
Take care. Bye-bye.